We're here to talk about the selling process or listing someone's home. And there's a lot of steps in selling or in listing and selling the home. This whole first page right here is all things that you need to do to get your listing on the market. So we're going to start by.
Do you know what? Do you want to share it on the screen? So just remember to put it on the.
Okay, we're going to start talking about the selling process. So we're going to talk to our clients about preparing to sell their house. Then talk to them about finding the right realtor, which is you, right? Which is why you're going on the listing appointment. You're going to talk to them about how you're going to market the property and how you're going to differentiate your property from everybody else's. Tell them how you're going to get an offer. How you negotiate is important because one of the key things that clients want to know is one of the stressful things that clients have is how much money am I going to get for my house? Sometimes it's unwarranted justification because their house isn't as nice as the house that sold next door for $100,000 more, or it might need to be condemned. So we're going to talk about that. Then closing the sale with them. And once you're under contract, how are you going to work with them? Then getting them moved out and finding another property. I gave you all this thing called the 12-step seller process, and I'm going to find it here on. This 12-step seller process it's pretty generic, and this can be tailored to. This is the only one I got. I handed out what I had. Sorry, sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. Oh yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.
The seller process. We start with the pre-listing interview. So when you find somebody that you want to set up an appointment with and you want to go see them, the first thing you're going to do is there's a form which comes straight out of Ninja. You can create your own. I just took the Ninja one, copied and pasted into my K Company letterhead. And so you call them on the phone, right? And you set up a time that you're going to see them. You're going to, tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We're going to come, we're going to talk about your house, blah, blah, blah. But you want to find out a few things before you get there. So at the top it says, on this one, it talks about the fact that you want to, why is this one not on here? Sorry. A few questions to help me prepare for a meeting. Should take about 10 minutes. Is it an okay time to talk to you? So you get their address. Well, they get their property address and the mailing address in case they don't live there. That's sometimes important. Who are the people making the decision about the sale? Get all their phone numbers. You want to know, why are you selling? Right? Get some upfront info as to why they're selling. When do they need to move? Perhaps they're in a neighborhood that they're selling $1 million house. Well, it will take 6 or 7 months. It may take 6 or 7 months to sell $1 million house, and if it's a $250,000 condo, they could be out in a month. So where they're going also matters. You want them to describe their house to you so that you know how many beds, baths, and all that stuff before you get there. But you also want to use that as part of your research when you look it up in Realist. Because there's a lot of times somebody will tell you they have a 4-bedroom house, or Realist tax records say they have a 5-bedroom house, or they have a 3-bedroom house. So you want to get as much information from them so that when you go meet with them, I actually show them the Realist report and make sure it all works. Last week I was at a listing appointment in Bailey, and it's 2 miles from downtown Bailey, and the address, it had the road, but it said some other county, but it was in Park County. Well, it turns out there is a town. But that wasn't their mailing address. Their mailing address was in Bailey. It was in Florissant, Colorado. It had a zip code for Florissant, Colorado, but it was actually in Park County. And it was literally 3 miles from the Bailey post office where they keep their PO box. But this house is in a town. They had no idea. They've lived there for 21 years. This town actually goes all the way up to Woodland Park and down to Colorado Springs. Welcome. It's actually the town is in 2 different counties, Park County and another name, the county starts with a T, which I've never heard of. So you uncover things like that. So you want to make sure that they give you information that you can research before you get there. You want to know how long they've owned it, because you want to match that up with the records too. You want to ask about what sold you on their home when you bought it. And sometimes people will help you sell their house by saying, I liked it because it's 3 houses in from the, it's in the middle of the block and it's quiet. What are the features that they like about it? And most important, have you done any updating on the home since you bought it? Because maybe that's why there's a discrepancy between 4 and 5 bedrooms. If you're able to stay in your home for another 5 years, is there anything that you would do to it? These are things that you want to ask up front. And then ask them about how they would rate their house on its condition on a scale of 1 to 10 before you get there. What are you going to be asking for the property? And do you base that on a recent proposal or recently financed? So people always have an idea of what they think their house is going to sell for before they call you. So you want to know where they got that number from. And occasionally you'll get the people that will say, well, I'm not going to tell you the number because I want you to tell me, because they're just being jerks. But that's very common. You want to know if they own their property free and clear, or do they have a loan? And if they have a loan, do they know the approximate balance? There is a way on Realist that shows you their mortgage, and you can take a look at when they bought it. And I've actually done a backwards calculation to figure out how much they have left on their loan. And it's worked every 3 times I've done it, so it worked. I asked this question, I like this question, I ask it both in the listing interview and when I'm there. What are the 3 things that you're looking for in a realtor? Because I want to know, I want the cheapest commission, right? Or I want a realtor that's going to wear high heels and the blonde hair. Well, that's not me. So what are the things that they're looking for in a realtor? I had somebody just say, I just want you. I don't really care about the other 2 things. I'm like, that's really cool. Are you interviewing anybody else for this job? And when are they being interviewed? I always want to go first or last. Ask them if they've ever sold a property before. Anything else I should know about your house? And what questions do they have for me? So, and then you set the time and the place for the appointment. I can pass this around. We can plug it in. But those are the things that you want to know on the phone when you're setting up the appointment. Before the appointment, there's a bunch of stuff that you want to do. You want to go back to the 12-step seller process. You want to order the O&E, knowing that you're going to get the listing.
And explain what an O&E is. A lot of people don't know what an O&E is. It's
O&E stands for
ownership and encumbrances.
Thank you. I've only ever used it one time. It's important to know that it's there. It costs what, $5 in the title company?
Yeah.
5 or 7, depending on what title company. But I always run it.
Do you?
Because sometimes the owners don't know, oh, the carpet guy put a lien on the property. Or sometimes, because it's easy to put a lien. I have ex-husbands putting liens on the properties too. So I always do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can also have a case where the person has some judgments. Where they have, so it could take a little while, so that's a good thing to know if you got surprises coming.
Yeah, I mean, and here's what I'm looking at right now. But just because I've only done it once, Marina's done it every time. But it depends upon who you're working with, right? So if you're working with somebody that you think is a little sketchy, then yeah, do it. Otherwise, once you get a contract, you're going to find out in 4 or 3 days if it's good or bad. So you want to order your O&E. You want to put together a listing package. And there's 2 schools of thought when it comes to the listing package. Some people say, I'm going to hand deliver it to the front door the day before my appointment. In a perfect world, that is just phenomenal. But 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have time. But you do need to have a listing packet. Marina and I brought ours. So things that you want to make sure that you have in it is you want to have like the COA on their house. Well, actually, I started it backwards. I didn't put in. Normally, I have the realist report up front, which shows the the square footage, bedrooms, the approximate value, yada yada yada. I usually have that up front. I'm not sure why I don't have that today.
So we must have been playing the same school.
Yeah.
So I'll pass mine, so you could see, but I see more or less you have it. I have my information here, their house information here, and lots of houses. But pull out, look at the information.
And Lorena has this fabulous thing that she includes about the selling process that's geared towards the sellers and the but I think it's really cool. So I have, because obviously, once you get there, you're going to need a package. You're not going to start with this package, okay? So if you delivered it the day before, it's going to have something about you in there. I use American Lifestyle Magazine, and in my handouts, I have a different copy for what gets mailed to people versus what gets hand delivered on the inside front page. The inside front page talks about me as a concierge realtor. So that you get the same magazine from me mailed to your house, and it's going to talk about my love for Project Ames and Heart and their upcoming events and how that's just as important as real estate. But when I'm using this as a lead behind, I want people to open it up and understand what it is, how I market myself. So I got the CMA, I got two different versions. I got the cloud one, I got the Erie Colorado. I always have a copy of the seller's contract. So it's filled in, we review it. And I always tell people, this is the last time they're going to see this much paper from me, because everything is done electronically. You also have to gauge with your client as to their level of expertise with a computer. Older people, or I had a guy who was my age, but he never used a computer, and everything was done by paper. And we were selling this house in Commerce City. He went down to, I don't know, someplace way down south, so I had to call a broker down there and say, I'm going to get them on and let them sign on CT&E. So just be cognizant of who your people are and their use of the computer. Also, explain to them that they can't sign on your iPad or your laptop. It's against the DORA regs for them to sign, because it can be construed as somebody can come back and say that you signed for them. The same thing goes with husbands and wives or spouses, but I can't tell you the number of times where I've had one spouse who did all the signing. And all I said was, make sure your wife, when she gets to closing, there's two documents that she has to say she's seen before, okay? Please. But I was social friends with them, so when I was at their house, I just say, hey, you know what's going on, right? And we talk about it. So she was aware of stuff. So, but please don't embarrass. But you're going to have the contract in there, because you're going to get to it eventually. And then we have the buyer's definition of brokerage relations, working relationships, and every square footage disclosure. You're going to need to put in here in your seller's property disclosure, because this can be confusing for people. It's confusing sometimes even for me, because it's like, if you don't know it, just say I don't know, it's okay. But if you know something, you've got to say something. So I put all this in there to give them an idea of what we're going to talk about. So I also have in here, my marketing plan. So I have a marketing plan that's it's typically a generic one, but I have their address on it, so that they see, like, here's your goal is to get your home successfully sold by putting in the strongest negotiating position possible. Here's the pre-listing activities that we're going to do. Here are the listing activities, and here are the post-contract activities. Listing activities include, we're putting you in MLS, we're putting up a sign, I'm going to do a broker open house, I'm going to do a mailing to the neighborhood, I'm going to do public open house. And post-contract, talk about the fact that we're going to have a transaction manager. So they say, I'm a salesperson, I'm not a paper pusher. And if you want contracts done, don't let me know.
So if you just very quickly add into that, you're gonna look at me, I cater to my clients. If they want more information, I have a 62-page marketing plan. So I talk about that.
Yeah.
So you're gonna see the bit. But if I see my clients are more reserved, I have a one-page, like pull whatever they're needing. And then I have a one-page marketing plan. This is what it is. So listen to the clients, to the learning stuff, because it's a lot of information you're gonna show them.
If it's a past client, you probably are going to be a little bit more formal, especially when I've got clients I'm up to 5 transactions with now.
They already know.
We're not doing a listing presentation.
Right.
They're just like, send me the data, tell me how to price it.
To my repeated investor, for example, there's no listing presentation. It's a 2-page CMA, tell me the numbers, go.
Right. and I work off my sphere, so generally I don't do this either. This property in particular though, they were my former neighbors, and they were the first people I ever met with after I got my license in November of 2014, and we just sold their house last month. All
But
right.
this could be a good reminder for you, what do you need, even though it's a repeated client, okay, I still go through my 62 pay, steps, that will I remember what I need to do. Just an observation on the American lifestyle, it happened that you and I have a budget for that, but if you don't have a budget for that, maybe put your postcard, maybe put one of your marketing cards, maybe see something that, as an example, what you're gonna do for them.
Or you could even put past reviews from clients, which isn't gonna cost you a dime, give them a, printed out reviews. Like I have my website directed to Trulia, which has about 8 or 9 reviews, all 5-star, and they can see my reviews, and that really helps them. I don't do the American Lifestyle magazine, but you guys do. Everybody's gonna be a little different. And when you're first starting out, you may be doing a ton of information that's really inexpensive to do, which is printing paper out with marketing plans, stuff like this. This is inexpensive to do. And getting the magazine printed, that's gonna cost, what does that run anyway?
So there is $250.
No, I'm getting ahead of myself with the listing package, with telling you what's in it, so I'm gonna stop here, because it won't flow. But to the point of, when I first learned about listing packages, there was a really good broker at your castle, and I swear to God, she put the entire phone book in there. And I was kind of like, there's way too much stuff for people to read personally, and most people don't read that much, don't read the paper that you give them, so I always like to keep it short and simple. But that's as complex as I get.
And the first couple, listing presentations that I did were usually friends and family and stuff. But I felt it helpful, even though they didn't need to hear all that stuff from me. They knew me. I still needed to practice, so I said, "Hey, please let me go through all this just for practice," and they'll usually let you.
Yeah. Thanks, John, because I was actually going to bring it up. Is definitely do practice with people, either your mentor or your friends or family, but definitely practice doing it because it makes it a lot simpler. You're not, because I've been in sales. I was in sales for 31 years. I went on my first listing appointment with people that knew and loved me, that I'd gotten drunk with a gazillion times, and I was nervous as hell. So you need to practice. So once you get there, first of all, dress for success, folks. I mean, don't show up in holy jeans and t-shirts, even if they're your best friends. I've taken buyers out in $800,000 houses, and they look like crap. But I'm like, I'm going to dress the part because you don't know if you're going to meet other brokers. You don't know, especially in a listing presentation, you may walk into a competitor, interact with a competitor. So make sure that you're definitely always dressed business casual attire on the conservative side. So when you get there, you obviously do the whole introduction thing. A lot of times when I'm dealing with people that already know me, it's really cool. People like to see that you're showing up with a folder and put their name on it. This one doesn't, but put their name on it so it looks like you've done some work with it. Inside here, this is what I did last week. Yes, my pre-listing interview is blank because we were walking around 6 acres and I had my notebook. But it shows them that, I refer to some questions here, right? But I also have their information over here that I use to compare or show them to make sure that they're in agreement with it. So I always show up with this folder in addition to the listing package. So, you obviously when you get there, introductions, you want to go take a look at the house, right? You've not been there, well, let's back up. Before we even get to the appointment, you've done your real list, you pull the data, to see square footage, what the AVM value is, what the range is. We've done some CMA work on somehow see what's sold around there that's similar to get an approximate value of what you think it's going to sell for. Now remember, you haven't sold it, and you have not seen it yet, so you probably shouldn't walk in there with a definite price. With holding the price, we talk about ranges. Be prepared to talk about a range. Drive around the neighborhood before you get there, whether it's the day before or the day of. Drive around and take a look at what's around. If you have a couple of days and there's similar houses that are on the market, and go preview them. You want to gather as much data about their neighborhood and their particular house as you can. People always say, like, what area of town is your expertise? And I'm like, I have no idea, because I go where my clients say. And so, you know, I like Congress Park in downtown because that's where I've lived and I know them pretty well. But, you know, when I'm going to sell a house in Bailey, my first one, I had to do a lot of homework, even though I have a house there, on what houses are selling for, who the people who are selling. If you're going to get a listing agreement in a condo building, you know, who are the brokers that are selling in there? So you have some frame of reference, because that could be potentially your competition. Who are already selling.
They can also be an asset to you as well, because sometimes they will have buyers let some insight into the building. And sometimes just a professional courtesy call. Hey, I saw you sold one last month. Can you tell me, it looks like it sat on the market for 2 months. Tell me is there something wrong with the, you know, you gain a lot of insight into the HOA, and most agents are willing to spend a few minutes on the phone with you.
Yeah, I've had people call me after this listing in Congress Park and, you know, ask me, like, you know, I see one under contract in 3 days, were there any issues? You know, I'm trying to figure out pricing, was it perfect, was your house perfect? Yada, yada, yada. It does help to communicate with people. I have also used it on the buy side where I have people that, this is the building I want to live in. I want to live in this building. So then you got to find out who sold in that building, because everybody's going to have a pocket listing. Somebody's going to have somebody in that, and there was like 2 realtors in this building, and both of them had people that they're like, when you're ready, just let us know, because we have people that are on the edge and we can give them a push. So, you know, that helps as well.
Do you want to pass the buyer package too?
Not yet, because I'm
okay.
not done talking about my marketing stuff. Because I just felt like I was getting a little ahead of myself. So as you're walking around, you want to ask a lot of questions about how many properties have you sold. Well, first of all, you want to review what you talked about during the pre-listing interview, why they're selling, when they need to go, all that kind of stuff, where they're going. So during the property walkthrough, you want to ask them how many houses have they sold, how many times have they done this, when did you sell your last one? You know, somebody sold their house bought their house 35 years ago is just as fresh as the person who's never bought a house. Right? Then you get people who bought something 5 years ago and they think they know everything. How do they want to know how were their experiences and how did it go? What would you like to do different this time? And review while you're selling, where they're going, how soon you need to be there. And ask if they have any other properties. And then you go on a tour of the house, take a look at, you know, the quality of the rooms, ask a lot of questions. I take a lot of notes because I'm not Mr. like finishes guy, so I like, what kind of wood is this? What kind of tile is this? What kind of carpet is this? Because all that matters. And the more you get people to talk about it, the more excited they get because they're sharing it, you're writing it down. And I'm like, I use this for, you know, not only the MLS, but for marketing brochures. So it's important for you to help me understand your house.
You're also preparing them for the appraisal as well, because you're aware of some of the items that add value that you may not see. You may not know instantly walking up to that water heater if it's a 5-year-old water heater, a 10-year-old water heater, if it was 2 months old.
Right.
You know, so taking careful notes about that can really make a difference, especially you want to start listing that stuff out somewhere, potentially either the broker remarks or in the public remarks.
Yeah. Well, here's one I just from last week. I have 4 pages of notes walking around because, you know, the house was on 2 acres and they had another 4 acres, but on that 4 acres was a whole bunch of different stuff on it that made it valuable. So it's stuff that I use for, I take lots of notes, ask lots of questions. I had this client who she went, one of those really fancy toilets, the Toto. I'm like, who really cares? She's like, I want Toto toilets advertising. Okay, that's what she wanted. And then you want to know, then you want to talk about what questions they have, and then you want to talk about, you know, after I've answered your questions, you may decide to hire me. Let's see, one of 3 things is going to happen. You're going to hire me, you're not going to hire me, or if I feel I can't help achieve your objectives, I have a responsibility to tell you that and not take you listing. So It's important to ask for the business, number one, but also let them know where you're going with it. Okay, so you go through the house, you know, take plenty of time. And which is another thing, when you get there, ask them how much time they have. I don't think a listing appointment should be any more than an hour. If it goes longer than an hour, I get a headache. Because listing appointments are stressful, I still think, even though I know more than I did, it's still stressful because you're taking in a lot of information and you're also trying to deal with people's emotions. So this house that I was at last week, they're getting a divorce. So, you know, he's like, I can't imagine that, I can't believe it for 1 year to be in this house by myself. So you have to deal with all that and be compassionate. So when you sit down with them and you review the real estate report, take a look at the CMA. I talked about the plan, but then I also have a specific plan based upon when they want to put the house on the market. This may not always come on the same day as the listing conversation, because I have my generic one. But this one, where I give them specific dates as to what I'm going to do. So we have, when are we signing the contract? When am I setting up the online portal in RE Colorado so that we can look at competitive houses? And this one I was contracting people who had bought property on the street and were flipping them. I used to not do this, but I started doing this, giving them a draft brochure copy. I made a mistake. For one time I didn't, and there was something that cost me $40. When are we doing the photography for the MLS? It has a date in here. It has the date, activity, and who's doing it. Final brochure copy and sell price has a date. In this case, I was writing personal notes to all the neighbors on the block. And when was I going to do that by? When we're installing the lockbox and the for sale sign, that there's a coming soon writer that's going to be on there. There's a specific date where there was going to be a coming soon e-flyer to brokers, and then I was doing a coming soon card for them, like a week before we come out the week up. Then tell them when we're going live on MLS, and then daily updates of showing some feedback. And on this one, we were finding them a new home, and I also put down what we were doing for them to find their new home.
If you see on my package just a little bit variation, I have a blank calendar place. So I put a calendar on it, one for them and one for me, and I start putting that on the calendar. When you want to move out, depending on the situation, and then I walk backwards. Okay, these days pictures, these days the open house. It's gonna take 30 days to a buyer to be on the contract to make sure I get them out whenever they want to. So usually I think 3 to 4 months ahead. So it may take that long sometimes.
Right.
So I have always a blank calendar. Here's your calendar. Tell me when you want to move out, ideally. And then they start telling you vacation, holidays, and my mother's sick, but I have surgery. Then you work around their schedule.
Yeah, because especially when you get that contract in, you may even put into the brokerage marks, hey, no dates and deadlines in this range, because you may have a situation where, hey, there's 5 days, they're going to be out of the country, and there's not any way to get a hold of them, or they can't be able to access a computer to sign electronically. So you may have to take that into the equation of the fact of the contract you accept. And
so once you talk about all the marketing that you're going to do, you know about pricing. I always say, I do ask, what price do you want to sell it for?
What do you want?
What do you want?
Yes.
Last week I got, well, here's how much I need. And I'm like, wow, that's awfully low. But he told me everything that he needed, and now I know where I need to be. I've only had one person say, well, I want you to tell me. I said, no, that's going to be a difficult relationship from that moment on. So I always ask for the business, and I have no intent on getting it because I know them. Then I go through the contract. So we start with the contract to sell their home. Pretty straightforward. I'm not going to go through it with you.
I'm sorry, if you're a new agent, maybe the contract is still too long for you, but if you want to do it, try to get the major points. You should be able to explain the contract in 3-5 minutes.
Exactly.
Very easy for them.
A lot of times I'll take this, I didn't do it on this one, but I will, because I reprinted it this morning. I will highlight areas that are key, So that, like, I want to make sure we got the right name for you, because it came off the county records. But like the listing dates, I highlight that so that we're in agreement on those. The condition, I highlight that. Just areas, price, so I don't go through the whole contract. Because basically I tell them, look, this contract is a contract, it's written for you, not for me. If you can fire me at any time. So just don't think that just because you're signing this means that we're locked and wedded. But I do go over the salient points so that they know that what's in it. Then I do take them through the contract to buy. But specifically in the contract to buy, I take them through dates and deadlines. The reason why I do that is because I want them to understand the process. So here's all we do to get your house on the market. Now we get a contract. Here's how that process works. In that process, we're going to have set up in, here's my contract.
Well,
My-
you
my-
put your calendar.
My calendar.
Don't.
I tell them, hey, we're going to have activity reports. So we're going to have the CSS showing report. So every day, every time we have a showing, we're going to get feedback. If the house is worth more than $500,000, then we'll be calling the brokers to get their feedback, because a lot of times they don't get it. They don't fill it out, but it's important for your clients to have the feedback. I always ask my clients up front, do you want me to give you the specific feedback? Because I had a lady that was really agitated because somebody told her wallpaper was old. There was a period, to her, it was a period piece for a 110-year-old house. But the main issue is always with the wallpaper and sheets. So I always ask people, do you want the feedback or not? And I'll give you the generalities if you want. If they said the price is too high, or if they hated it, but some people don't like to be told that their carpet is ugly, right? So be sensitive to that. Then I show them we're going to get feedback. We also have an online presence with our writers, so we're going to know how many people are looking at the sign. But then I take them through the whole buying process. Once we're under contract, here's how many days they have to give us earnest money. Then we have to go through the inspection. The inspection is the time that they can get out for no reason whatsoever. So don't come to me asking me why they got out, because 9 out of 10, they can get out because they decide they don't like it. And so talk about trying to have backup offers. And even though we may go under contract on Sunday or Monday, we're not going to take it off the market until we have the earnest money. And talk about if they're getting a loan, that they have an opportunity to get out. Well, property insurance first, but generally that's never an issue. People get out, but also for their loan objection. We can get 3 weeks into this and somebody could go out and buy a car, and then we're dead in the water. So, but I want people to know that these contracts are written for the consumer. They're not written for me as the seller. They're not written for you. They're written now for the buyer. So they have absolute control over the process. So the key is to give people enough information, to give them information so that they feel well informed. Because everybody's going to talk to everybody. They're going to talk to their friends, who of course know a realtor. And well, my realtor said this, but try to give them as much information that things that you may be doing that some other people may not be doing. Because part of my process is, I'm a concierge realtor. So you live in your house for 35 years. So when I'm walking around with you, I'm like, oh, we need to paint these 2 rooms. So why don't I get, do you have a painter? No. All right, well, I got a painter, I can get him. You need your front sidewalk. City code says it's cracked and it's coming up because of the tree roots. It's got to be reset. Do you need somebody to do that for you? Yeah, because we don't have anybody. So I go through all of that with them to understand what they need to do. And sometimes people don't realize how much money it costs to sell your house. It's more than just how much am I paying in commission. I've had people where it's cost $10, $15, $20,000 because they had to replace sewer lines. They had to, you got to paint. Sometimes you do need new carpet because it just looks so horrible that, and I always say that the smallest thing that's wrong is always the biggest trigger. So like these people, their front door handle on their storm door didn't really work properly. I'm like, we're getting that fixed because that's our first thing people are going to see, and if it doesn't work. So you have to have an eye for that sort of detail, and you're guiding people along, right? So give them enough information so they feel comfortable, but don't overwhelm them. But also let them know that, we're gonna be communicating a lot. Because I think over communicating, and try to find out how they like to communicate. Text is fine for the general run-of-the-mill stuff. But I had a client, I'm like, look, you're gonna sign a contract today, so please don't drink. I know it's what you do every day. So don't drink today. Well, we weren't gonna get on fire. But, so you do have to communicate. So, how you start this process with them and how you lay out the plan, you gotta make sure that it's simple, easy to understand, and differentiate yourself. And continue with the education and the knowledge. Because don't assume that people know. They probably don't. If they do know, they'll tell you, and they'll tell you to back off. But generally over communicating. I have clients that like at 11 o'clock every day, I'm sending them a text. All right, you got 3 showings today. Here's the feedback from yesterday. It's like I always felt like an intense 3-week period of time. And then all of a sudden it's like you get a divorce. I have this one client, and like every Wednesday, he's like, "Are we getting together for a drink?" I'm like, "Okay." Closed in March. But it's a good way to leave a relationship like that. But you feel like you're married, which is why I can only handle so many transactions at one time, because you get so involved. And I'm doing more than just saying, "Let me know when your house is ready." I'm there making sure it's got painted. Well, now that it's painted, why didn't you do the roof, the ceiling? Because all that stuff I feel I need to do. Because when they're looking at their net seller sheets, which I put here somewhere, and we're each making 18 grand. They're to me that's a chunk of change, right? So that's $36,000 that's coming out of their pocket in addition to all the money that they are spending. So I always give them a net sheet. It may not always be on the day on, but if they tell you how much they owe, before you can figure out how much they owe, I always try to do the net sheet so they can see it right then and there. Because the conversation about commission may or may not happen, but it's better to put the number on a piece of paper so they can see it, right? So because I don't we could have probably a long conversation about commission or no commission, but if they're doing a double side, if I'm selling and buying, then I come right.
Usually, if the homeowner run out of that asking how much this is going to cost you, then they're very tight. Tell them right away, this is the net sheet more or less, you're negative. Don't sell, wait, advise them. Because I have clients that I need to sell because I'm getting divorced and the bankruptcy and I run the numbers, you're negative. Why don't you hold on tight? So if they ask you about the cost, forget about the package, tell them what they need.
The other thing I will say is kind of echo off of what you're saying is sometimes I sit there and say, sometimes they don't have any money in their pocket or they don't have the resources to do anything. So at this point, I'm having a conversation of you have a $200 budget. I'm going to say, have her company come in and clean it. I've done that. That was one of my listings actually was we needed to be under contract within 48 hours because we were under contract in another house. I said, we're just going to get the house clean. And I said, go to Home Depot, buy a bunch of nice boxes, throw anything in the room that isn't complimentary, put it in the garage, and let's get this thing on the market.
Declutter, just go on my pancakes. I have to do dress up your house like a motorhome with $100 or less.
Now,
it's just a little thing, just clean out.
Now, if they come back and say, hey, I've got a $5,000 budget, I want to know where to spend the money, then you're building a different plan. Hey, maybe you put new carpet, new paint, you may be replacing some key items. Gauging that urgency and their timeline is going to be critical. And sometimes it's, hey, they may not want to, they just don't want the stress. And that's why a lot of people will hire Rob, because Rob will find people and get all that set up. And if you can do that, you will get a full commission. They will be like, hey, you're going to get somebody in here. I've got roofers out there. I have been on roofs. The big joke is I said, I've been on more roofs than half the houses I've listed. I've been on the roof. I'm like, why did you get on the roof? I said, there's no other agents doing it. And they're not about to discount the commission when you're crawling around on the roof and eating their roofer.
It's with spiders and dogs because the furnace was in the basement. I need to know how old is that furnace.
Exactly. Or you want to be there And then one thing I did talk about is sometimes an older home on my marketing plan, I go to have them do a free inspection of the home, though it's like 100 years old, because an inspection report for a 100-year-old house looks a whole lot different than an inspection on a 10-year-old house. And there are things on a 100-year-old house that people that like 100-year-old houses will go, oh, that's not me. You know what I mean? It's just the house is just old, right? But because I
Need the ground
I had an
wire.
issue with this house this year, we're selling that. The people were coming from Ohio when I looked at their house online that they were selling. It was pristine, perfect. I'm like, why the hell do they want this? They're gonna have to spend $200,000. And sure enough, they got the inspection report and they're like, we're out of here. So,
So there are things that you may not know, especially in older homes.
Yeah.
Lead,
Yeah.
asbestos, carbon monoxide, only two inspectors can tell you that.
that's a,
Because
the report.
no.
So when we're talking about money, so yeah, I'm always upfront with the net sheet, so they see the dollar amount. That actually sometimes avoids the whole percentage question. Because here it is, here's what your net is, and people always know, because this is how I used to sell my houses before I got into real estate, was what's my net, like whatever everything else I could care less. And that was me. But I just learned something this year, when you're buying, make sure, and I never thought of this before, because everybody knows they have to give earnest money, right? So if we're under contract, I need an earnest money check tomorrow. Like I need $10,000. Well, I forget that not everybody has $10,000 lying around, and it was almost like, okay, just write that check. We'll fix it. But I did learn from that make sure you detail up front. When we do get under contract for a new house, I'm going to need 10 grand or 15 grand. I just thought it was a given since it was. As we look through, we talked about touring the home, kitchen table negotiation, reviewing the motivation, talking about positioning the strongest negotiating position with pre-inspection, handyman service, and then spend a lot of time getting the property ready to show. Does it have a septic tank? Does it have, or is it city water? If it's septic, when was the last time it was cleaned? And when was the last time it was inspected? If it has a well, then you need to know, do they have their well permit number? Because you need the well permit number, because as soon as it goes under contract, you need that on the contract. You need to talk about, not only taking pictures, but what kind of brochures you're going to do. I forgot to bring, I do a lot of 4-color brochures to go on the kitchen counter. But I also do for the box for the flyers, I attach one of these to it. And it has, because a lot of people, they don't want to take paper. Literally, you can 25 sheets in the great neighborhood. They'll stay there. But I also put the floor plan on the back too. Somebody can break in and know where we sleep. But bring examples of things that you've done for other people. Then talk about offers and negotiation. So once you've settled on the price, let's evaluate. So spend a lot of time talking about the price, right? Show them the CMAs. If you need to take them to see the houses, take them to see the competition. So it always helps to do a few weeks before it goes on, so you can do stuff like that. In this particular neighborhood, because I lived there, sold a house there, I'm always there. So I was already taking people to other houses that were going on the market, even though they weren't buying those houses. I knew they were going to sell their house. So what do they need to look like? If people don't want to go look at them, this is key, because I've had people who are like slobs. And they want to sell their house for $750,000. Did you see the pictures of the other $750,000? They look like picture perfect. If you could eat off the floor. So if they don't want to go see them, that's my way of showing them. And you can actually get them out of MLS and not print them, but have them PDF so they get all the pictures.
If you see my package, I have the pictures. So actually, I show them. If I don't have time to take them to the house, look, those two houses look like this one. Now, okay, which one do you have look like? Because that's how you're going to assess the value of that house.
Right. So, they got at least lots of ways. We talked about what happens when we get offers and negotiation, how this is where it was about the price, right? So, all right, so here's what I say, $699. Okay, well, we want $705. Okay, you can have $705, but here's all the others. Well, here's the spectrum on either side. Here's houses that are 725. These are stainless steel appliances and they're perfect kitchens. And now we're not even taking pictures of your kitchen. Why? Oh, because it's 30 years old. But here's houses that are 675, and here's what they look like. So we can go 705. I'm fine to do that, but we're going to go on the market on a Thursday, showing start on Friday. 2 weekends. If nobody gives us an offer in that 10-day period of time, we have to lower the price. And then I always try to have a conversation with them about how low they're willing to go, but sometimes I don't like to know, right? Because sometimes it's easier for me to negotiate when I can be a hard ass, because like I know the neighborhood, I know the house. If somebody tells you it's easier to default if they say, yeah, we'll take 690. Oh my God, that's so funny. But if I'm feeling passionate about the price that I help set, then I can argue a lot better than somebody says, well, I'll take 690.
Do you write that pricing strategy into the listing agreement?
Actually, I do not. Okay. That's a verbal. Some people do though.
I do. Depending how flexible they are. I don't know if you know it on my CMI, I say you have to be value plans, because then it's a talk to them. If I truly believe the house, you are in the high range, additionally 300. If I believe it's going to sell at 350 and they want 400, then I put, okay, we're going to put 200, 2 weeks for 400. If I don't have a contract in 2 weeks, broker automatically has permission to adjust the price, and they'll have to sign it. Yeah,
I've even gotten to where I will try to get them out to go look at some of the other properties and show them ones that are sitting. Then we'll also show them ones that got bid up, where they underpriced and they got bid up. Sometimes I will just say the 2 listings I have not sold in my career, I never should have taken the listing. The people were unreasonable. They sucked the living life out of me and my time. I wish I had never taken it. So don't be afraid to say no. That will throw their whole game off. You say, well, I'm not going to list your house at that price. They'll be like, what? I'm just going to list it with someone else.
Yep.
And
I have said no many times. Kind of, okay,
Yeah.
you're interviewing me, but I also need to make sure I could provide value for you. And I think this is not a reasonable number, but thank you very much. So don't be afraid to say no too.
now, I will say, I'm glad I took my first listing, which never sold. And I competed against 3 other realtors. I was the one that came in with the lowest listing price, did an amazing job marketing it, but the house backed up to, it was right up to a freeway, and there was just no way it was ever going to sell for top dollar. It was dated. It had everything against it, and sure as heck, it never sold. They rented it out, and then eventually the renters bought it for the price I originally suggested 18 months later. And guess who didn't make a commission? Do I regret listing it? No, I don't, because I actually learned a ton. So I will say, for your first listing, you might take that one that's a little adventurous.
No,
And
that's not the same.
The one you did broker guy?
No, that's not the same.
Oh, wow, you put-
And then Rob, explain.
See, I did a follow-up. Post sale. And I sold, this is a little tricky because here's the house they just sold, here's the house closed last October. Technically, it's not within, but they're on the same block. So I did a 2 amazing homes sold on your block, because I'm the only person who's ever sold 2 houses on the same block, ever. Ever. I am. No, I can change front to back. Yes, probably frequently.
So the floor plan's on the back. Do you have a software program you use, or do you use an iPad, or how do you
I
do that?
married this lovely, crusty woman. Her name is Becky Potter, and she's a licensed appraiser, even though she doesn't do appraisals, so she does
Floor plans,
she does floor plans. And I think floor plans are really important for non-traditional homes and homes that are not nearby. So, this is a Congress Park, Denver Square, wherever you modify Denver Square, they're all slightly modified. So, all of them have different bedrooms. So show me what they look like, and that floor plan I put in the MLS too, so that people can see it, so they're not getting their car.
And I know there's a
House in Bailey,
software.
it's the same thing. I don't want to drive 9 miles down 43 and find out it's only a 2-bedroom house, but it's a huge house. So, also, you need to have this, and this comes out of the MLS. It's the detached single-family form. I don't know if there's one for condos. There must be.
There's
There is.
Yeah, there is one.
Condos are just a lot easier to begin with. Take this with you, print it out and take it with you because it is all the info that needs to go into MLS. In my transaction manager, she pulls a lot of stuff from Realist to put it into MLS. So I don't need to get as granular, but obviously she's not seeing it. So I need to fill this out on for stuff, especially that she can't see or that's unique and different.
I would also.
When I preview the house, you see my phone. When I preview the house, I started to fill it out. So actually, I'm already starting to work with them for them. They don't hire me. I take that with me because sometimes I have to figure out, oh, but did you give us a little form? No, you said it's mine. But sometimes they're committed that I'm already filling it out and they feel compelled to, okay, you already working, we'll hire you. So
Right.
that one sometimes close the deal.
Yeah. So this one in Bailey last week, the guy's like hesitating, why? He's like, I called up my friend who lives from the city and he just won't give me a price. And I'm like, do you have your wall permit number? He's like, what's my wall permit number? I'm like, you need your wall permit number. He's like, I don't think so. So I've already started working for him because I'm finding his wall permit and I'm giving out updates. So we're already working together, even though we decided to contract. So I'm giving him something of value. All right, after you leave your appointment and you've gotten your listing, do, and you say all your humble thank yous, send them a freaking thank you note, and written one, not one on email. If for some reason it's gonna take 5 days to get your bank statement dropped off. But I have these printed, the Vista print says K Company, but actually has my information on the back of it. But send them a thank you.
So it's up to you. I have just generic $1 Target thank you notes. 40,000, thank you for meeting, and then I follow up with them once a week. How you doing? Have you made a decision? Sometimes tell me I will hire somebody else. Thank you. I still follow up with them with thank you notes because maybe they get fired too.
Yeah, I mean, I had one where I didn't know the person, I didn't get it. I still sent her a thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, and I wish you luck. Because you never know when people are gonna think about it. It's just the oddest thing, how you get business in this business. I think this Mark's got the most scientific way I've ever heard of. In my world, I'm just like, I hope nobody calls me.
Not scientific.
Well, you're making all the calls. So that's it for, did I get all the 12 steps here?
Yeah.
She says weekly communication. Are you talking about, if I get the listing,
You get it.
then it becomes kind of daily communication.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure
Okay,
that,
how many showings you have?
well, even before you get there, because you're going to give them the marketing, you're going to give them your marketing plan, you're going to come up with a punch list, you're going to be working with them on getting people in, either fix stuff or see stuff. We also try to, you want to get to know people better. Even though I know them, I still, there's nuances of people that you know that you don't know until you start working with them. And sometimes you may not like them. I made it through every transaction and come out on the other side, there's been only once where I thought, like, they hung up or it's soon. And she showed the closing, but we're like best friends, so.
I have my showing form, and if I do centralized showing. Sometimes you tell me I don't want showing because before 12 they sleeping or kids come back from school, so I cater showing with them. But I do tell them the first weekend is the most important one. Even Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's why I do the open house and everything. After that, then I cater to kids, they work whatever they want. But always after the first weekend. That's the most important one.
Now, I also find out from them, do they want to price for multiple offers, or do they want, because sometimes where you price can be a very important strategy. I've had a couple of clients that said, I want this done in 72 hours, and I want multiple offers, I want a backup plan. So I price accordingly. I had other clients like, hey, if this drags out for a month, I'm okay with it. Take the pulse. And some buyers want that they want to negotiate. They want to start high and come down. Other buyers are like, hey, I want 20 offers. I want to get bid up. I want, gauge what they're willing to do. Do they want the emotion of looking at 8? I have one of my guys, he's a lender friend of mine. He's like, Carl, I don't want to torment my wife with 10 offers. And he's like, I would rather us just get one offer. I want to price high. I don't mind if we sit for a few weeks. Sold the house, he's very happy. It worked out very well. The other contrast was the person that we had 7 offers and we went 21,000 over asking.
Yeah.
Questions?
I have a question. A lot of times you start the initial, the pre-interview, pre-listing interview, you're on the phone with them, and they'll kind of up front, before you even sat down with them, met with them, they're like, well, what do you charge? And you have to sort of have an answer for that. How do you exactly answer that?
Next week, the next session is gonna be negotiating the deal, and we're gonna handle all kind of objections, like that one will be an objection, so make sure you come or send us to objection, that way we're gonna hold like a panel of.
Oh,
elements.
okay.
But for example, something like that is, depending on who they are, sometimes I tell them, how much are you willing to pay? I turn it back to them. Then I send them my package without the CMA, and I wait for them to see the value I'm gonna bring to them. So I'm gonna send you a package, then I'm gonna see you. How much value do you think I bring to the table? And if they're still in the, no, I'm not willing to pay, it's depending on you. At the beginning, I just hold the listings like I can, you know, depending how hungry you are, at the end of the year, or whatever
It
like that.
depends on the type of seller.
Type the type of seller, so you decide. So
If
sometimes
they're
I
like,
say,
if they're an internet seller, you want the rock bottom deal.
right,
They're gonna shop
If
until they get
they're-
the
if they're
cheapest
one
thing
of
they
your
can.
friends.
they don't care, you're providing them a holiday, because then it's the friendship on the middle, you know, it's a relative, or, you know, the neighbor, something like, you know. So, yeah, so be prepared, if your business, you decide to take it or not.
Or, to answer your question,
My
most
motto
times, I just go, the
is
standard
take
is.
whatever you can get the sign in there. Have as many signs in the ground as you can.
No, I just did beat up somebody.
So
2.5%.
Right.
I'm like, just because your seller is cheap, you eat it, not me. Because I've done more work on this deal than you have. But my answer would be, they're kind of, if I know them, don't know them, I say, well, the standard is 6%, but we can talk through that when I see you tomorrow.
I've,
Because you're not answering.
Well,
You
I'm
know,
not
I gotta
saying-
sit
I'm not
down
saying
and
it's
show you
not-
what value I'm bringing
Or,
before I answer that question.
or if I know we're selling and buying, so, you know, but because you're selling and buying, you know, we could,
If you're double doing it, you could
I give you a package deal, but I don't, yeah, I just say the industry standards.
I just recently, now, your Project Angel Heart is your favorite charity. I have a favorite charity as well, and I actually know this guy from the charity. I've done 2 real estate transactions. So I said, if you do 6%, I'll donate half of my side of the commission to the charity. Guy took it, and you know what? I was happy as a clam because the charity's getting a ton of money, and he didn't negotiate. If you're willing to donate to charity, I get a lot. The negotiating just stops because they're like, oh, I don't want to shortchange the charity. Other people will. They're like you were saying, the internet buyer. They just want the bottom dollar. So I've even gone so far as Rob here has this concierge service. Say, well, fine. Do you want? It's going to cost you money to do this. We can take this, and you know, I start cutting stuff out and say, hey, you know, are you looking for? If you're looking for a lower cost service, now there's different ways. Everybody's going to be different. There's 4 of us in here who have done quite a bit of transaction. I'm guessing every single one of us has done a completely different negotiating package, and even down to, I had one house that was a total dump I sold. I took a picture, I'm not exaggerating, with my BlackBerry across the street, and I made sure it was fuzzy. People were like, why did you do that? I said, go see the house. They went and looked and said, that was an amazing picture. And, you know.
So it depends on my investors, I work a lot with investors, I negotiate all the deal. Okay, you wanna sell this one and you want a discount, and I know you're buying 3 others. Give me those listings, I give you the discount, and sometimes, okay, I'm signing a listing contract with the purchase contract at the same day. And then I hold, you know, that one is for a year, and then I hold it, because it all depends on you, what you want.
And sometimes you negotiate the lower, always if you're gonna get cut in the commission, cut it on the cheaper one. That's
Yeah,
how,
on the
it's like, whichever one's the cheaper one, in the equation, where I was doing one where they were doing about a double price. So I said, look, I'll list your house. It was like $100,000 listing. I'm like, 2%, I think I did 2 or 2.2, and they were ecstatic, and I made a ton of money on the buy side. I didn't really care, and they were amazing clients. The house was perfect when I went to photograph it. It sold in one day, and it was.
So yeah, we could talk more next week about how you know, sellers negotiation, buyers negotiation, other agents negotiation. There's all kind of ways you could get the deal.
And then,
All right, so, is your question, Mike? Sorry. So, and Don, I work for Xerox and I work for Grainger, not the cheapest companies for selling products ever, and I'm not ashamed of that, because they're always the best products. You just have to really understand why you are the best person and what it is that you're going to do that's going to differentiate yourself from everybody else. And don't be afraid to tell them. Because if they balk at 6% of that first phone call, then you may not want those people, right? So if everything you tell them, you know, generally it's 6%, you move on, you're good. Also, like this was an update on their net seller sheet. So I have notes as to why we should take this price. So when I have a phone conversation with a person, this is why this is a good price to take. So if you write down all the reasons why you're good, or the reasons why you came up with the price of the house, and you communicate strongly, then you're good. I mean, they could argue with you, but always make sure that you're not kind of like mealy mouthed about it. But you know, before I go into these conversations, when I get all my contracts, I tell them why this is a good one. You know, because you forget when you're talking to people, right? So we price at the top end of pricing for square footage, and our house is not perfect. Our inspection objection was done on the first one. We don't have to do it again. Nothing else to fix. There's no appraisal because it's cash back, 30-day right back. And remind them we had 19 showings, 3 offers. Only one of them was at the asking price, and one of them was terminated. So as long as you have that written, so that when you talk with them, you know specifically why. This is the price that you should take, and here's the reasons why. People have a hard time, and it's factual. People have a hard time arguing with that.
I did a tiered commission once for, this is a good way to get 6%. So if they come in and say, I think the house is worth $430, say, well, if I got $440, would you be willing to pay my full? Because they're already thinking, and they're like, oh yeah. They usually will say, I say, well, I want to incentivize because I'm going to do things to help you get the extra 10 grand out of it. Would you pay my full commission if I got you $440? And if the answer is yes, then you say, hey, but if I go under $430, hey, if I'm wrong and I'm mispriced your home and I don't, I put some guarantees. I put my money where my mouth is. Now, if you've got the experience and the knowledge in that area and you know what's happening, you can do that kind of stuff. And I've literally stepped and said, hey, if I go below a certain price, I'll cut the commission. I'll get you down to a cheaper commission. So if I'm wrong, then I don't deserve my higher commission. But I often find most people are willing to do it. So that's one strategy. There's all kinds of strategies. You gauge based on the client.
Right. Yeah. That's one more thing that I'm done. Well, 2 things. One is don't cheap out when it comes to the photography. Make sure the photographs are in the list on MLS the day it goes live.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I sold it to her, but I refuse to ever go back again. It doesn't have pictures. The third thing is, or this is the second thing, be there with your clients for every step. Don't be that realtor that doesn't show up the day the photography is being done. Sometimes furniture needs to be moved because they're not yet quite ready. You might have to move a few boxes to help the photographer make it look better, right?
Bathrooms. I have clear bathrooms.
So be there.
High shampoo bottles.
Show them what you're doing when it comes to the brochures. Show them what you're doing with the coming soon card. Make them aware of everything that's going on. Talk to them about the appraisal process. I always tell people that, hey, the appraisal date is the hardest day of the transaction because it's all on me because I have like 10 minutes to judge somebody that I've never met before, to establish a rapport. If I'm going to be super hyperly nice, or I'm just going to hang back and be mellow until the appropriate time because and I said that is a skill set that not everybody has. So I will be there. So make sure you're demonstrating your value by being there for them at all times. So they're not looking for you, because that is the thing that people would say is like, oh, I didn't hear from my realtor for like a week. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure why. I don't care how many transactions you have to do. Fair transaction. And I'm done. Unless you have more questions.
Okay, so we're gonna put all the information and example of the documents on the video, so you didn't have a chance to look at them. We do that as well. Okay.
Any other questions or follow-up?